Hello. I can't hear you yet. Okay. What's up? I think I still can't hear you, but I'm not sure if it's on my end because it said you connected to audio.
How about now?
Yeah, you're good.
Great.
Hey, love.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. Yeah, thank you for being a part of this.
Of course. I'm really excited. I've been thinking about it all day and I'm ready, fully ready now.
Yes, let's go. I love how queer it is that we're both in our wife beaters right now.
You know,
Their skin
I was
tone.
I was topless and then I was like, I guess I should put a shirt on because I don't want oil splashing back on me. So
Smart. It's kitchen
it
safety.
doesn't feel nice. It
Number
hurts.
one. Yeah. I was making plantains once really drunk and I was swelling out and I got like my whole face burnt. So yeah, kitchen safety first.
Those are love wounds.
Yeah. Big Is this your kitchen at home that you're cooking at?
Yes, this is my kitchen at home. I'm doing this on my phone because I figured this will be easier for
Yeah.
me. Um, yeah, my home kitchen.
Thank you
This
for,
is it.
inviting me in.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you all prepped? Does it take a lot to
Not a lot to prep. You just, I don't know how you want to start. If you want me to just start going in or
let's see if there's a few people signed up. Let's see if they show up. I usually wait about 5 minutes.
no
And
problem. The prep is not that hard. It's like chop an onion, chop some garlic, peel some ginger, mince that up. And then all the waiting is in the cook and honestly just waiting for it to all the flavors to develop. So it's really not a lot of work.
okay, I'm excited to try this when I'm not moderating. It sounds delicious.
Thank you. It's really good. This is a soup that is I like I've had it so many times, but as an adult and I think as I've been like disconnected from my family and like from my culture in a way, this is something that feels really it's very comforting to make and also like I'm making it partially from memory and partially from like what I've been able to find through other people as well and they all are literally like the same recipe. So I'm like, cool. This feels good, and I'm really excited because it's like a very familiar flavor for me, and also, yeah, it's just something that I grew up having quite a lot, and now it's like it's I don't make it. This is maybe like the second time I've made it in the last few years. So yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. I have a similar dish that I make, at least my connection to it. And I've started making it a lot more just to really like explore and hold on to that tradition. But yeah, I feel like with anything that's kind of like a super stew, it's a different experience each time.
Every time, and it somehow is familiar and comforting and I like have been tapping into those feelings a lot lately as I've been wanting to like connect more with my culture and where I come from and also because I don't feel like I have too much of a connection to my immediate family, so my way of connecting to those things is through food and like tapping into those feelings that I felt as a child and when I did have that sense of community around me.
Yeah, for sure. Food is such a gateway to like our lineage. Um, so I find like I've experienced such a huge disconnect in like the years that I've been apart from my parents, and just connecting to food has really kind of like bridged that for me.
Yeah, big bridge. Or being far away, I'm sure it's like feels really nice for you to have like that sense of like home even being so far away from your family right now.
Yeah, I'm actually at home at my parents' house right now in Florida, but
That's hilarious. I love
yeah,
that.
I don't get out here too often. And before this, I had been once, and then it had been like almost 2, 3 years since I had seen my mom.
Damn. Well, I'm happy that you're there. You deserve to have that space for yourself.
Yeah. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Um, I guess yeah, 7:05. We can set it off.
Okay. Do you want me to like get together my ingredient? Do you want me to explain my ingredients or
Yeah, whatever. If you want to do both at the same time as you're getting them together, you can explain them to us.
okay, cool. I'm just gonna dive into it how I would do it and kind of verbalize what I'm doing. And if anybody has questions or if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer as we go.
For sure. I'll be here to loop you into what the people have to say, and if something comes up for me,
Great.
I'll
Okay. Well, the main three I'm about to start with is I'm going to start breaking down my onion. I'm going to break down my garlic cloves and my ginger. So, yeah, I'm using a whole onion in this because I'm making actually, I like have been able to figure out how to scale down cooking this recipe, but this recipe is also made to be for like a big ass family. So,
That's the
I'm
fun
a
thing about stews and
for
like
all.
soups.
I'm also having a hard time hearing a little bit because I'm using my phone, so I might have to ask you multiple times what you said.
Okay, yeah. I just said that's the fun thing about stews and soups, that you can scale up or down really, really like
Yeah,
easily.
the scale is very easy. Well, scaling down didn't feel easy at first because I
Yeah.
just, it doesn't, it always felt strange to scale it down. It felt pretty difficult at first when I first moved away from home, but now I'm like, okay, I've made these things enough to know what needs to go into it if I want to make it for like 2 or 3 people. But this is definitely going to feed like 6 to 7 people easily. Like the leftovers, I'm going to go drop off at a fridge or something.
That's sweet. Um, have you, I forget, but have you been in Portland your whole life?
Hell no. This is actually the longest place I've lived. I've been here for 5 years now. This is like my longest home. It feels good to be here. I've had like I would say like a complicated relationship with living here for a long time. And in the last couple of years, I felt, or like within like the last year and a half, I felt a lot better being here and also surrounding myself with people who make me feel good being here versus like before I didn't really seek out too much of that and was like just running with a different set of people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I felt good being here. Um, Still have a complicated relationship, but I don't hate it entirely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Community helps.
it helps 100%. Like if I didn't have a community here where I felt like uh I like was like truly alone, I would probably be saying differently. But I do feel pretty good about the community I've been able to foster here.
I'm happy for that. I definitely have to pull up and kick it with you in Portland.
Please, you know, when things are not so hot,
Yeah.
you're welcome over anytime.
Thank you. Same to you. If you ever want
Thank
to
you.
drop down to Austin.
You know, my partner actually has some people in Austin, and I also forget that other than you, I have a couple other people also in Austin, and I'm just like, I guess that is the move.
It could be. I could see you there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like Portland's sister city, so
Oh, that's interesting. It's just like a lot warmer, I guess.
yeah, a lot warmer and probably like way more people of color. Way
Mm,
more people of color.
maybe. I mean, you'd be surprised. Austin is It is like, I guess, in when you consider the whole of Texas and its population, I guess Austin is a little more diverse. But I would say, I mean, I come from New York, so my frame of reference is like this highly congested pot of diversity, and so maybe,
Yeah,
yeah, comparing to that would not be fair. But I would say, yeah, I guess you could say it's a little diverse. I would say it's still
yeah.
pretty big though.
That's, I'm not surprised. I feel like once you move away from somewhere like New York, it's just not, nothing's gonna be the same.
Yeah, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, you know. And I have to remind myself that every once in a while. I'm happy enough, and Eric is a wonderful place, but it's also a lot of other things, and it's kind of becoming a lot of other things, and that's a whole, yeah, that's a whole thing in and of itself.
I get that. I get that. I remember a couple years ago seeing you post online about how much you love the city, but like urging people who are there to get out and away from there when you can, just because of the things that you've noticed it turn into something that isn't so enjoyable. So that really resonated with me, seeing like urging, being from a place that seems so like close and dear to your heart, and then seeing someone and then like telling people get the fuck out and like do other shit is refreshing.
Yes, the thing is, I feel like with these like really big staple cities, there's such a narrative or like a need to be like, you know, I'm
In
gonna,
it.
yeah, I'm gonna live and die here, you know, to live and die in LA, or, you know, New York till I die. And it's like, yeah, it's such
I
a kind
respect
of a
it.
closed mindset, because you don't want to die in a box, you know, without seeing the world. And there's so much pride in it, and I appreciate it. There's a certain essence to these staple cities that, you know, demands you to stay there. It was really hard for me to get out, actually. And
Really?
there's beauty in that, but there's also a lot of pain. And I guess I was at a point where like romanticizing and, you know, glamorizing pain, and just and suffering for, I don't know, to claim a city just didn't make sense at that point.
I'm sorry. Let me close those doors real quick. I didn't realize they were gonna start doing yard work next door. Damn.
Oh yeah, go for it. Um, how's everyone doing? Thanks for being here. What's up, Sharish?
All right. How's the
You have
lighting? Is it
roommates?
dark? Do y'all need any lights, or is this is cool?
I mean, I feel like I can get, you know, the gist of what you're doing, just breaking down the
Yeah,
ginger.
I'm just,
Like,
I'm just like shaving back the ginger so I can cut it up. Nothing special. I'm not like, I don't like, you see the baking stuff is very different from what I'm doing at home. I just like don't have a kitchen big enough or
yeah,
like
I'm,
equipped to do any of the stuff I'm doing at my bakery. But like, you know, this is, anybody could make this dish. It's just, you really just got to put love and time into it.
mm-hmm. With any food that you're making for yourself and for others.
Yes. And I think having a connection to it makes it especially delicious, because it's just like, I don't know, like I'm doing this and I'm thinking about like when I first was thrown into the kitchen to fucking peel potatoes when I was like 5, because I needed to be useful in my house.
Yeah.
But it's a fond memory. It's like it taught me a lot. I felt like having that experience has made me very self-sufficient as an adult.
Which is so important. I think even doing or like having small tasks as you're growing up, to be exposed to like the kitchen and food is so formative to your connection to food.
Yeah.
I remember,
I
yeah, you go ahead.
I agree with that. I think I'm very thankful that I did have the experience and the exposure to making food, and was like given tasks to do stuff, because it feels like as an adult, it feels natural for me to like just like jump in somewhere because I like kind of already have an idea of what I'm doing, or it just like is it's kind of like a muscle memory because I have been doing it for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's empowering in a lot of ways. I know I definitely like was exposed pretty early, and my younger brother was too, and I feel like it took them a lot. But I know a lot of people who like haven't, and I think it really does like create this disconnect, and it's like it's so sad because food is such a life force, you know, and
It is. You need it. Like I'm reading this book right now, and in one of the like paragraphs I read, this guy is the main character is like fucking having to venture out of the canopy in the trees where he's like posted up to go and find food for himself because he realized he's like, oh, I'm having all these delusions and flashbacks about my past. And then at the end of all of his flashbacks, he's like, oh, I'm just hungry and I need food to like be sane and like continue living. And that just, I don't know. I'm just like having a fun time drawing connections outside of like, I don't know, like food is just very incredible to me. It's
so many.
it's so much. It's so
um,
much.
I'm so curious about your baking. Tell me about, walk me through, how did you start? And
Okay.
yeah, let's start there.
So baking, a couple years ago, I got into, I started working in a bagel bakery, like a bagel warehouse. And so I kind of got like the ins and out of like preparing and baking bagels, New York style bagels, by the way.
Okay.
I know that's like the one redeeming thing that I took away from that spot. I was like, okay, they do a pretty decent bagel, and I'm happy to take away these skills. I wasn't actually in there for that long because I ended up moving from that bakery into their commissary kitchen, and that's where I got like, that was like my first like prep like kitchen job. Like I never worked in a kitchen before. Like I just never felt like that was something. It was just never in my cards to be in a working kitchen like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a commissary kitchen, so I didn't have to deal with people. So I got to do my own thing and experiment, and like it was nice. And then from there, because I had experience working in the bakery that I work at now is actually around the corner from my house. And my partner and I had been going there like a few times a week and befriended the owner and was like, oh, we're actually looking for people to work here. And I was like, well, I don't have that much baking experience, but I love to learn and I'm interested in learning these things because you guys make really dank pastries. And they were like, cool, work for us.
That's
so
awesome.
That's how I got in there. I just had an interest in baking and it just happened to line up right. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears real quick and start throwing shit in a pot.
Yeah.
I got my onions and my garlic cloves and my ginger chopped up. I'm just gonna let those go for a few minutes in a little bit of cooking oil, and then I'll explain where to go from there.
Perfect. I like it. Your pot color. It's a nice green.
Thank you. Thank you. It's I feel like, what kind of pot is this? A cast iron?
A Dutch oven.
It's a Dutch oven. This seems the most fitting for like a stock, like a nice heavy, not heavy, but like a big soup.
Yeah.
This is really more ideal for that. So I usually eyeball it, but for y'all, I'm gonna do 2 spoons of oil. Or like 2 tablespoons if you want to get really technical. I don't know how you're gonna be like presenting this.
It's just, it's as it is, as you are.
This is how I was taught. I was literally like, I had to stand next to my mom and my grandma and be like, what are you making? What are you doing? And they didn't know because that was how they were taught. So
Yeah,
you
it's
just
like
have to watch.
experimenting, really. I mean, I feel like I'm not super precise when I cook. I think baking is like something that calls for a lot more
Oh,
measurement
yeah.
precision, but like with cooking, I go by eye and taste.
With baking, I found like I can't be as loose. It definitely, you need a lot of precision with baking. Like even the like smallest increments off however many grams or whatever, you can like taste it, or it can affect the recipe significantly and you don't get the same product, which I've also learned in baking. It's kind of like a crapshoot. Like you get what you get depending on there's so many variables that go into it. Like I've been at the bakery I'm at since the fall and I've learned so much. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, damn, like, of course these things are going to come up. I just never thought about them from because I just am like, all right, I'm going to just gun it and it'll probably taste fine versus when you're baking. And then for like a croissant, like that can go, if you miss like a minute, that can like really ruin your shit.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah,
you like
it's
something really edible and delicious, or like just a science experiment.
it does feel like a science experiment. I don't know. I think because I have like part of my like personality traits is like the meticulous stuff. Like I get a little hard on myself when it feels like I fuck up, but people are usually like we're usually selling our pastries out, which feels really good. And then I feel kind of silly for being like, damn, I was really hard on myself about that. And everybody ate that shit up. So
I'm sure it's delicious.
yeah. I can't wait. I love that picture that you have been sharing of me and my tray of croissants. Like,
Yeah, are you kidding me? That's so powerful. Like, I'm like excited to like at some point, I'm gonna like put your croissant recipe into work, and I'm gonna, get really good at them, and then I'm gonna like same pose just because that's like so powerful.
yeah. Okay. So I got my onions, garlic, and ginger going right now, and I'm just gonna cook them on like a medium high heat until they get soft. So that's like, I don't know, like 5 minutes. It depends, but until they get soft. Uh, and then I guess it's just like, I don't know, releasing a bunch of other deep flavors in there.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a stew, it's a soup.
I guess in this time, I don't know how much this is like only supposed to take like an hour, but I'm also going to be making a pot of rice and that takes like half an hour, but that eventually will just get thrown in while the lid's on and we're just waiting for it to cook off. So.
Is that usually how you serve it, with some rice?
Yeah, and I would say, from my household, being a Filipino person, and I can always speak for myself, but I also think it's fair to speak for everyone else and be like, they all had rice, jasmine rice with 3 square meals. So like when I grew up, it was just always there. So I'm gonna put a pot of rice on for this.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
Do you make rice in a rice cooker, or do you like just
I
do it?
do. For a long time, I didn't have a rice cooker because I like was taught how to cook it without a rice cooker. Like my grandma, I remember growing up, and my grandma would be like, "When I was your age, we didn't have any of this, and here's how I made it." So like, she taught me once like how to cook rice over a fire, which was really cool. It's just like you got to babysit it a little bit.
Mhm.
And then, of course, having a rice cooker is a game changer because you just gotta walk away.
Yeah, I'm not good at rice cookers. I have always made rice just like in a pot, like I always I maybe like I don't know what it is about rice cookers. I just like don't trust them. And maybe like, you know, it always comes out soft for me, and I like having some control. Like I like to like depending on the dish, I'll let it burn a little more so that like it gets a little crust on the bottom.
Crispy rice, that's been a game changer for me in the last few months. Like I didn't realize how I just like didn't grow up eating it, and then we've been ordering that and like getting it out at places, and I'm just like, man, this is
Shit is good.
like not like, I don't know, like even growing up there would be like the crispy bottom that I didn't eat because I just wasn't put onto that. It just like didn't pique my interest, and now I'm like, oh, that's the good shit that everybody wants now, which is really funny to me because it just is like I just didn't want that growing up, and now I'm all
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. It's like an acquired taste a little bit, but I guess it's like I grew up eating it, so maybe that's why I appreciate it. Yeah, but I like being able to, yeah, I don't know. It feels right to just put it in a pot and I don't mind babysitting it because rice is like, if you put it on like a medium low, and if you're already cooking something with it, you're already, you're in the kitchen. So it's like, but I guess, I appreciate the like leisure of just putting your rice on it and being able to step away, I guess. I don't know what it is about rice cookers. I can't.
I think also like like something I found with rice cookers in the past is like they don't cook it. This doesn't have the same heat distribution, so it's like kind of cooked all the way through in some spots, and then like
the microwave of rice.
Yeah, exactly. Or like some rice cookers. I don't know how I measure it by eye, and like I use my hands as a measuring instrument when I'm making rice. Other people I know go by like what's on the pack. It's a whole, I found with rice is like it's variable no matter how you make it. So it's just if you're able to make a good pot of rice, that's what you want to go for.
Yeah. The nice thing about a pot too is like I don't like to measure, so I'll just like, whatever I'm feeling for the meal, I'll throw it in, and I'll usually like if there's not enough water, I can always add water to a pot, and if there's too much, I can always pour some out. But like in a rice cooker, you do need like exact measurements. I think that's really what it is with rice cookers. You need exact measurements. And I know rice is easy, you're doing like 2 to 1. But at the same time, all rice is different,
All rice is different. That's true. I learned that because I grew up eating mostly jasmine rice, and sometimes I would like get white rice and try to make it the same way, and you can't make it the same way. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Like it's just I don't cook with white rice. I don't cook with a lot of other rice just because I feel like I'm comfortable cooking jasmine rice now that I don't have to like I can make a perfect pot of rice and explain it for the most part to people, and they've been able to like make it almost exactly how I explained it. So I'm like, cool. I trust. I think what the trick is, you just have to don't use as much water because you can add more water.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's the it's something you get with like if you're making it in a pot, you can look at it. Whereas in the rice cooker, you close it and it's kind of like, all right, I'm trusting you.
Exactly. Okay, my onions, my vegetables are all pretty much there. I'm gonna take the chicken out and get that ready to go in. How do you feel about washing your chicken?
I predominantly eat like a vegetable base and like sometimes fish diet. So like I don't ever cook chicken. But I do sometimes eat chicken when I'm out, like
Okay.
a fried chicken sandwich or something special like that. But yeah, it's been like a little for a long time since I think probably since I was living at home with my parents in New York was the last time that I like actually cooked chicken. And I used to actually really enjoy making it. I used to make like this like traditional chicken stew, but yeah. Did you ask me how I watched it?
How do you feel about it? Like, are you someone who, if I guess it doesn't really matter now since you're not really eating chicken, but when
Yeah.
you were, did you wash your chicken or did you just take it straight from the pack and put it right into the pot?
Oh no, I used to for sure rinse it.
Yeah, like I thought that was a universally known thing, but something I learned moving to Portland because it's like this is a white city, like they just don't do that. And I was fully floored and had to be like, I have to like ask people if they wash their chicken because I'm like,
Yeah.
I've seen enough of it to be like, I don't know. I don't know.
You should definitely, yeah. And like I know people that even like do like a short just vinegar like rinse or soak, like water, vinegar, soak and rinse. And I feel
Yeah,
like if I was like making chicken now, I would definitely do that.
yeah. Like I'm like, I feel fortunate. I live right around the corner from like a natural market. So like my brain feels a little more comfortable
Yeah.
getting produce and like poultry, like any of my groceries from there. I still need to rinse it just because didn't grow up eating as well as I'm eating now.
And
So
it doesn't hurt to, wet the chicken a little bit before you throw it in. Throwing it
exactly, just rinse it off a little bit.
for sure. What kind of chicken parts are you using? Just
Okay, so I like to use bone in because there's something about like the bones and the like marrow or whatever is in the bone that adds to the broth as you cook it over time. So I like to use bone in chicken. I have used boneless before, but I found that the flavor is a little better if you use the bone in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Usually when you have like, just all the parts of an animal, it's just a much tastier result.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about this.
Oh, you're good. I can't hear it that much. I don't know if anyone else can, but like I can hear you pretty well.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you can hear me. I can like hardly hear you because they're just like leaf blowing right outside right now.
I can try and talk a little louder.
You're good.
Um, all right, so you got your chicken in and it's bone
I
in.
should go in, and I'm just gonna cook this for like uh I don't know. I like to do anywhere from like 7 to 10 minutes just to get like the outside sealed up, and then I'm gonna add like 5 cups of water and then put a lid on it, and that's just gonna cook for the rest of the time or until we'll check on it in like 40 minutes and see how it is. But it really doesn't take that long. It's just is a matter of it sitting over a period
Yeah.
of time to cook over. So yeah.
And did you get anything after that?
Yeah, I'm gonna start that pot of rice so that I can be going at the same time because it's nice
Oh,
to just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
have that at the same time.
So is this all right, so tell me a little more about this dish. Is this like a pretty traditional dish in the Philippines, or like is it more like, central to your region?
I would say this is traditional to the Philippines itself. From what the like knowledge I've gained in researching about it is that it's just like a comfort food. Like chickens are very abundant in the Philippines. So are like there's not a lot of ingredients in it, so it's just something that you were able to like whip together with whatever was around
For
a
sure.
dish like that, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. I don't know. I've had this it like made for me also from other people, and I like am curious to know more about it, but I just also just don't know a lot of people who know that much information about it either. They're just like, I know how to make this because my family's made this, and that's as much information as they got.
Yeah.
You know, good old colonization.
But, collectively, hopefully you can come up with something,
Yeah.
gain enough of it to hold on to it.
Like for me, this feels like something like my ancestors like this just feels very good for my brain to be making and then to get the final result to be a flavor that I tasted as a child and it being like, dang, that's some powerful shit. Like I didn't, not that I would like have had the hindsight to foresee myself feeling this way as a child, but this is like, it feels really good to be able to do this for myself and be able to share it also with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. I remember that feeling, yeah. I want to access more of my culture's dishes, but it's also like a lot of my culture's cuisine is very like like meat and chicken based.
Yeah.
So I either have to like cook it that way or find some alternatives.
Do you
But
feel like you have a pretty easy time substituting things when you do make dishes that are more culturally?
yeah, sometimes I think it depends because there's like certain dishes where you can substitute, like the traditional stew that I make, I substitute fish. Whereas it usually calls for there is a fish version of it traditionally, but like the more popular one is or well-known one is definitely like a either a meat or a chicken or a combination of both. But there's definitely dishes where I can substitute. Like there's a very popular Colombian dish called bandeja paisa, which is just like paisa is like a specific name for like the people in a certain region in Colombia. And I think it's actually short for paisaje, which actually means like um, landscape. Um, and that the platter, it has like beans and rice, plantains, it has a fried egg, it has avocado, and then it has like a meat and it has a pork rind. Um, and I've made it before with just it everything but the meat and the pork rind, and it was really good. And I think I substitute the fried egg for like a boiled egg, and it was like really really good.
Oh,
Um,
I
yeah.
love boiled eggs so much.
Oh man, yeah. I stopped eating
Literally
eggs.
had them this morning.
They're so good and they're so versatile. I stopped eating eggs for a little while, like a couple years ago, and I'm so glad I eat them again because they're just, yeah, they're great. I also had like what do you call them? Where you like cook them and then you take the yolk out and then you fill it with something, and what are those eggs called? Mm, I think
I
it's
wish I knew.
like, and then you can fill it with anything.
Wait, it's an egg?
It's a boiled egg situation. Yes, deviled eggs. Thank you, Emma.
I was gonna say deviled eggs, but I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah,
something
I
else.
had deviled eggs for the first time. I think it was last year actually.
Wow.
I know it was really good.
Good for
I
you.
made them
Did you
myself.
make it like the traditional way? I guess I don't know what traditional is because to me that's like a white people food.
It's very, yeah. That's I was
That's
about to say. It's like the white people boiled eggs, but I don't. I wasn't entirely sure because I don't know enough about them. I was like, maybe it's not. Um,
yeah.
no, I didn't do it. I don't even know what the traditional ways. I just like when I was being told about it, I was like, you just yeah, you can do you. There's many ways to do the egg, and you like boil an egg, and then something happens with the yolk, and then I was with my partner and her mom, and so she kind of set up a little station with like little like sauces and stuff, and she boiled a bunch of eggs, and she's like, all right, everybody make your own deviled egg, and I put like this like I put a little bit of soy sauce and like this like ginger sauce, and it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've never thought. I think for me, I've only ever had deviled eggs at like cookouts or like barbecues. It's like my experience with deviled eggs is like a traditional like American cookout dish. And it was always ever prepared like with like the yolk getting taken out and then mashed and added at mayo is added into it and then
Okay.
like paprika and that was it. And that was like that was the only way I've been able I've like been exposed to eating it, but adding soy sauce and ginger into that sounds way more
You
delicious.
should try. You can add anything, I guess,
I'm
to a
going
deviled egg,
to.
right?
I'm going to.
I have a friend who also pickled some eggs with turmeric. She's actually gonna be the next guest and the last, maybe the last. I'm not sure. Some people have interest, but yeah, she like pickled some eggs with turmeric, and oh my god, they were so good. So yeah, I don't know. Boiled eggs have like a lot of avenues that you can just,
This
they just
is
like really amplify a meal sometimes.
that's true. Just honestly, just boiled. I like a. I'm a big fan of like the soft boiled egg because I love runny yolks.
Yeah. Over some rice and like just anything
Oh,
else. Oh my god.
I remember. I think the first year I lived here in Portland, that was like a really big staple for me because I like had been away from home for a few years at that point, and I like didn't. For me at the time, I was like, I'm not eating rice. Like I don't have the time in my day to make a pot of rice every day. Like
Yeah.
so, rice like it was less of a staple as I've gotten to be an adult, and like so yeah, having like a fried egg with like some garlic and soy sauce, do a little green onion on it every morning was like the perfect meal.
Yeah, it sounds delicious. I'm not that good at them because since I stopped eating eggs for a while, I like had forgot how to cook them for a little bit. And my girlfriend really likes eggs, so she's like kind of reintroduced me to like how to cook them. She's really good at making them. um, but there's definitely, yeah, like you do need to like kind of like measure the time, especially with like a boiled egg as well. I think I don't know. I guess
Um,
both fried or boiled. You need to like
the best part, I would say, if you're going for like any type of soft boil situation, if you fuck it up, you just end up with a hard boiled egg, which is still pretty good.
oh
You can
yeah,
keep
I'm like
turn
yeah
it into deviled eggs.
yeah.
I'm peeling the potatoes right now. So I've found different versions of this dish. It can also be made with like I've had it with like squash, like green squash,
Mm.
or I don't know if you're familiar with chayote.
What
That's
is
kind
it?
of like
Is it like a root veggie or
it's like I couldn't tell you, but it's like it kind of has the same consistency of a potato and a squash, more potato though, and
mm,
it's kind of bitter, kind of like a bitter melon. Have you had that?
maybe? I don't
It's
know.
a
I
gourd.
keep thinking of jicama, but jicama is more like and it has like the texture of an apple, I guess.
Yeah, not so much jicama. It's definitely once it's cooked down, like it's like a potato. So I'm using potatoes because I just really love potatoes, and this is the way
Potatoes are
I
great.
grew up eating it.
Yeah.
So I'm peeling my potatoes. Um, I'm also gonna throw in. I'm gonna do that now. I got two jalapenos. I'm gonna just toss in here. I don't do anything with it. You can like cut it up or whatever, but it's mostly just to get like a little bit, like a hint of the spice. And then at the end, if you want to bust it open and like make it really spicy, you can. But sometimes it's too much for me. Like I get heartburn kind of easy now as my body has gotten older, and I'm trying to be more careful with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, two jalapenos in there.
Okay. And are you not a fan of the potato skins, or is this just traditionally how it's made?
I
With
love potato skins. Traditionally, this is how it was prepared for me growing up. I don't remember having many, like, I honestly don't know why we didn't eat more potato skins because it's like good for you, but I'm making it this way.
sticking to it.
What else? What's
Do
our
you
time like?
do you cook most of your meals?
Uh, not, I would say it feels pretty like I like work almost full time now, and the job that I have can be pretty demanding physically. So like when I'm off some days, I just like don't have the energy to
Yeah.
make a meal. So I'm fortunate I have like a really sweet partner who also loves to cook and loves food just as much as I do. And we have similar like flavor palettes. So like she can man the ship when I'm not feeling the energy to be cooking something. So yeah, I don't cook everything, but I do know I'm eating good.
Yeah, that's what counts.
Yeah, that's what counts. I wish you could smell this. It
I
smells.
know this is the one thing about being virtual that it's hard. It's like
It
I know
smells
it
really
smells
good.
so good.
How does it smell?
So fucking good. I want to try it.
The chicken is not cooked. You can't try it yet.
No.
It's dangerous.
Okay, I know I said in my ingredients list 2 tablespoons, but I'm just gonna eyeball it.
What's that?
This is fish sauce.
Yes.
You know. Show the label. Oh yeah, this is the brand I use also for the folks at home.
The good
time.
fish sauce.
Takes fish sauce. It's just like an extra kick.
Is it easy for you to find all the ingredients you need in Portland? Do they have like a lot of supermarkets?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, there's like a number of Asian grocery stores scattered throughout town that are relatively easy to get to, that have, like, if I feel like there's something specialty that I might need, like they usually have it at the Asian market, which is actually really great. And then I think also because a lot of, at least in my experience, a lot of the food that I grew up eating, my mom was just able to get all the ingredients from like generic grocery store or whatever. It was like I felt confident just going in and being like, all right, I only need these things. And sometimes if I look in like the organic section, they'll have like things that I didn't expect to have. Like I grew up eating the chayote vegetable, and that was something I felt like was normal growing up to eat because a lot of other people also ate it. And then out here, I had a hard time finding it until I started looking in like the organic section, and then it was like sprinkled in there. So, you know,
Yeah.
just, all right. My soup is boiling right now, and I'm just gonna leave that for another half hour, and I'm gonna switch gears and make a pot of rice.
Yeah.
Also gonna eyeball it. Do you want me to explain my process?
Yeah. Let's learn about how Brie makes rice.
I like to eyeball 2 cups, so I'm just gonna eyeball 2 cups into my rice cooker. Yeah. And then a really big important, like one of the biggest, I guess, like things I learned growing up making rice is you got to rinse your rice. It just makes it turn out. I don't know exactly why, but that was something it was like always a thing that I was told, like, did you rinse the rice? Because it's just not going to turn out the way we're used to having it. So rinse your rice if you remember to.
Yeah. I did grow up with that, and then I definitely stopped doing it because I was like,
Yeah.
I want all the particles that came with the rice in it.
Something I actually learned because as an adult, I was like, oh, well, what? I know that it's nutrients that's getting washed away in there. So, like, what can I do to, I guess, like, recycle that? And I used to take the, like, rinsed water and pour it into my plants, but I just watered my plants, so. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it's my excuse for being lazy.
That's okay. I think I feel paranoid about, am very particular about my rice. So if I just hate mushy rice. I can eat it, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
part of my brain is like, oh, it's mushy because you didn't rinse it all the way. You didn't rinse it.
Maybe you're
until
right.
it was
Maybe I'll have to
good.
do an experiment. I've become so accepting of rice because every like result is so different, being that I make it in a pot and I don't measure and I just let it, for the most part. I do, like if it looks like it has too much water and it's already soft, then I definitely, or like if it still like feels hard and it's like almost done, then I add water. But like for the most part, I let it be what it wants to be.
Add a little water. Okay, it's almost there. And then as far as like water goes, my mom and my grandma told me that you're gonna get perfect rice every time if you can measure. You gotta use like your fingers to measure, and basically your water line needs to be beneath, like just below the first knuckle in your finger when you're touching it in the pot. So like right there, right above in that area.
So like, okay, so you see I have the lines on my finger. This would be
So when you're sticking it down into there, it should be just below the first knuckle.
okay. I guess
Right
that is
in there.
knuckle. I forget about that since I
Yeah.
can't bend it and crack it.
And that gives you, for me, I found that gives you enough water to like cook it. And if it's a little dry, you can add some water to it. But usually I also like my rice to be a little drier, because if I'm eating it with soup, like it's gonna get cooked even more.
Yeah.
And that's it. Now it's in the rice cooker to hang out until she pops.
Beautiful.
I got really large potatoes. I put in the recipe, I wrote like 5 or 6, and I felt like 3 large potatoes are gonna equate to that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how size really determines amount sometimes.
Yeah. Also, I love potatoes, so I'm like happy to eat all of these.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I cut them, I just like quarter them. Like I quarter them, and then I quarter the quarters, so they're like not quite bite size, but you can cut into them relatively easy from that point.
Yeah. That makes sense.
How many more people are you, how many more dishes are left in the project?
There's one more, but I had 1 or 2 people that were interested in maybe being hosted, so I might go on a little further than that, because I have really enjoyed this. It's been great. For me personally, I was hoping for like more of a turnout, but for me personally, it's been just so great to like, I don't know. I have such an interest in food, and for me to like have been able to connect to people that I already connect to on, different scales, and talk about food, and the interest here really was younger people, because I feel like we've got this, like we have this really interrupted relationship with food and food consumption, and I'm just trying to like really figure out how to hold on to traditions and practices and connections surrounding food. So for me, it's been really, really great. So I have one more person that was scheduled, and I guess the way I'm playing it is like, if anyone else is interested in making a dish, I'm open to hosting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next one is actually, I don't know if it's next. I have to like check my schedule. I've been so off this week, but
You know, you were sick, right?
I got a cold. I went back to teaching in person for like the last week
Um,
of the semester in Austin. And
Sticky kid.
yeah, sicky kid got me sick with a cold. Thankfully, I was vaccinated, and I don't even think they like it was COVID related. I mean, I did get tested,
No.
but
It's just- you work with kids and kids have a lot of fucking germs and
yeah,
like that's just what it is.
exactly. But and it wasn't a bad cold. It just like it always just like it takes you out a little bit no matter what. And I think it takes you out even more the older you get. Like I used to
Yeah.
I used to get sick and like it didn't matter. Like I would like smoke and drink and go to the beach.
Yeah.
Like if it was winter, I would go out and now I get a tiny headache or like a small cough and I'm like, I
I gotta
can't
stay
even do anything
in.
for a week. Like I'm tired.
Honestly, I feel the same way and I am glad that you're listening to your body to take a rest because
Oh yeah.
I just like I've been having ongoing conversations even with like my partner and being like, oh, our bodies are getting older. Like a few years ago, we'd be doing a bunch of other shit, but like now, like even just being aware of how much your body, like when it's in pain or when there's something off, like and listening to that, like really listening to that is so important because I don't like I absolutely like cannot recover in the same way I did like 3 years ago. Like I
Uh,
just 27 and I'm just like, wow, I'm at a point now where I like I just cannot imagine doing the shit I was doing a few years ago now. Like I just it feels unheard of like for me now.
yeah, it doesn't feel as good. It reminds me of my relationship with New York where it's just like this doesn't feel good anymore. Like I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. Okay, I just threw in my potatoes so that those can cook up because
Mm,
I feel we've got like a little over like 30, half an hour left, and that should be a good amount of time for like the potatoes to soften up and to absorb all of the yummy soup.
yeah, I forget how quickly potatoes sometimes can just soften and kind of like really disintegrate if you leave them in too long.
I
Um,
love it though. It's
yeah,
so,
it's like a good way to thicken a soup.
yes, it's a really good way to thicken a soup. It's like, I love mashing it into my rice with this specific dish. Like, there's other Filipino dishes that I've made where it's got potatoes and like I'll let them go a little softer because like just there's something about the feeling, like the mouth feel for me of like mushy potato on like
Yes.
perfectly al dente rice with a little sauce. It's like eating an egg over rice. It's just like a really good mouth feel.
Yeah, I agree. Good stuff.
I'll
Also,
show
thank you for
you.
being so conscious of time.
Of what? Oh yeah, of course. So here's my
Wow, look at that beauty.
rose.
It looks
Yeah,
really good.
it smells really good. I'm like, damn, I wish we had that on technology now. Like we can have this phone call. Why can't you
I,
smell food?
I wish and I don't. Sometimes it's scary what we can get. Like we got to be careful what we wish for with technology.
I know, we're almost there. I can feel it. We're gonna
Yeah.
get to that point. But I'm thankful for this experience for sure. Okay, I feel safe trying it because the chicken has been cooking long enough where it's probably like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna get sick trying this.
Yeah, I kind of miss cooking chicken because it is like, there's elements to it that are really, really like nourishing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's getting there.
it's like also like I also use like the skin on chicken because like the fat
Oh my
there's
God,
like
yes.
the layer of fat in this right now is like uh liquid gold, you
Yeah.
know.
I really think that when you're eating an animal, you should be comfortable with, all its parts. Like I grew up with like my dad's side of the family, like eating every part of the chicken, and like me like having chicken feet cooked by my grandma, and I like absolutely loved it. Like, I was like 7 years old coming home to, because my my parents got divorced pretty early, but I was coming home, to like to my mom and telling her how much I love chicken feet. And she was just like, why are you eating chicken feet? Like, that's gross, like, and
Yeah.
but like I really do think like if you're gonna eat an animal, you should really just go all out.
Go all out. And honestly, I do feel like, because that feels like a pretty like well, like rounded accepted thing in countries where they like are like kind of, they have to eat like every part of the animal, because that's just like a part of them sustaining themselves. Like they can't just pick and choose, because they don't waste food. Like they're not going to waste food. So I
Yeah,
feel like that is definitely a big part of my upbringing, is like being exposed to eating all the different parts of animals, and then it being broken down into like there wasn't like any morality or like good or bad morality behind it. It was just like, this is what we're eating because this is a part of the dish, and like it tastes good and you're gonna get energy from it, so what's the point in being upset about it?
exactly. I mean,
For
you know,
me, like I understand, I can hear people's arguments. I also feel like, coming from the background I come from, like it feels important for me to to think about like, okay, where did this dish come from and why did they make it? And it feels good to think about like my ancestors making this dish to feed not just themselves but like whole groups of people. And
mhm.
so like they had to like cook the entire chicken and the legs and the head, because like somebody was going to eat it and they were going to be happy with it.
Yeah, you gotta, you really gotta like make it go a long way, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember I'm like still breaking it down in my head for myself, of being like, oh, this is like poverty food, which it is, and it doesn't have to be seen in like a negative connotation just because like,
Yeah, no, think about all the things that were considered poverty food that are now like being like highly, manipulated and exploited and like, like
I know
gourmet.
that I feel like that's a really big thing out here in Portland. I One of the questions I saw in that doc you sent me was like, what being in Portland was like how that has like changed my relationship with food, and I feel like it kind of ignited my want to have a connection to my culture and my identity and who I come from, because when I came here, I didn't feel or see any of that. And that was just like really jarring, because for like when I lived at home, that was just like what I knew. So I like didn't question anything. So I was like comfortable in that space. And then when I came to Portland, I was just like, oh, it's a lot of like, I don't know, like I would come across places that are like inspired,
Yeah.
inspired by regional places around the world. And it's like, I'll read into it and I'm just like, you just stole this from people. Like, you're just stealing from people. This is like white supremacy at work, and having that lens and seeing that like in present day it just like felt really hard for me to like not want to do something else. So like, I don't know, I don't know, like cooking this food and then having the ability to be like, I'm gonna box up some of these leftovers and share it with other people. That feels really good. Like that feels like enough for me to like combat my negative feelings about being in a place where I don't really feel like I have too much of a community, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you have to really like create a community, go out of your way to like establish a community. And like, it's not always a community that looks or feels just like you or what you know, but I think sometimes that's the beauty of community, just like the diversity of it and like how and the intersections, like Like we
Yeah.
might not all be the same exact thing, but we have something we share, and that's enough to connect.
Yes. Yes. So like food is a big one because I feel like if we weren't in COVID, if we weren't still like having to live our lives dealing with COVID right now, like something I've been thinking about and wanting to do is like have more uh like not necessarily dinner parties. I guess it can be that, but like I want to be able to share more food with people I love and care about because that was something for me felt that it feels like that is like I experienced that growing up. I've experienced that outside of my own household in like environments of places that are from my community, and it just makes sense for me to want to share this even with like anybody because something I actually read into recently was like for Filipino people, Filipinx people, either in and out of in or out of the diaspora is like, how do we keep our traditions alive within ourselves? And one of the big things was like, okay, just like getting together with people, like this is what we've done for a long time, and we just have to kind of do that again because that's what our ancestors did, and that's how they were able to survive. And it feels different having to put that into practice living still living with COVID right now, but
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being able to do that when it feels safe again.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that's so hard. And I'm really glad you brought that up because one of the questions I wanted to ask was like, what are some ways that you've like been able to or try to, keep your like traditions alive or like,
Um, yes, I loved that question a lot. I actually have been, in the last few years, I've actually felt more disconnected from my immediate family. So it felt a little more difficult for me to have a connection to my culture because they were like the main link. But I'm also in a place in my life where like I want to be I want you to want me in your life and I don't want to have to work to be in people's lives. So like I'm
yeah,
really trying to foster those relationships more outside of in like my chosen family setting, because like that's just as important as like your bio family. Because and what I've learned is that your bio family can sometimes do a lot of harm and you can still find connection and community outside of that.
yeah. I think you really have to like learn how to navigate your bio family, which is, it's labor, and just being born and existing is labor in and of itself. And so it's like
Yeah.
labor, but I think once you can learn how to do that, it's a really great way to hold on to traditions or hold on to your
Yeah.
lineage, tap into it, and you don't have
Yeah.
to align with everything because I mean, again, it's your biological family, and it's like
Mhm.
almost two different worlds sometimes. Uh,
Yeah.
and your chosen family, your community is like where you do get to, you know, connect and align on the things.
Yes. And it does feel really good. That is where I feel like I've been able to kind of connect to community in that sense because I'm like, okay, I can find people whose like lifestyle and their values align more with my own and then tap in and foster those relationships more because they bring me more joy and they serve me more in the present. Um, so something I'm actually have started doing and I'm starting to navigate is like seeking other Filipinx people in Portland who have like similar feelings around like wanting to like foster community for themselves in that way. Cause like for a long time, uh, I didn't feel like I had any like Filipino friends out here. And like I had one that I feel like I connected with really well and then they moved. And then COVID popped off. So now I'm like back in a place of being like, fuck, like how do I connect to a community that in a time like this where it's like to the core of like what it means to be a part of a community in Filipino culture is like gatherings. Like that's a really big part of Filipino culture is like getting together with people. And so that I felt especially called to do that. And so recently I've been like reaching out to different people who I feel who have expressed like similar feelings, and we're slowly making plans to like get together and like that's just like what it feels like needs to be done, is just to get together and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I agree. Little by little, we're getting into a more safer space to do so.
Yeah, I've definitely been testing the waters because like my partner and I, we've been vaccinated, and a good amount of people that we know now are finally like vaccinated. Very thankful about that. It took a minute, but we're
Mhm.
getting around. So yeah, we've been like navigating and like testing the waters, what life is gonna look like, or like just going back into the world and doing things how we were doing them before, and like what that looks like with the lens of how we've been living our lives for the last year and a half. So yeah, it's felt very strange, but it does also feel very good and like also rewarding. Like it's been really rewarding to be able to get together with even like one or two people, three people in a day, and being like, wow, this is really nice, and this is what I've been wanting and needing.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a readjustment period, but it is so nice. I mean, it's so like it's so needed to have like this really social aspect to our daily lives, outside of like our, people who we've cohabited with for, as long as we have.
Yeah. The last thing I have to go into this soup, because it's like pretty much almost there. I like to add in like a leafy green. In this case, I'm using some spinach, and then that's just gonna wilt down in the soup. And then also get to like a really delicious texture and consistency of like a mushy potato when you mix it with the rice. So that's what I'm about to do.
Yummy.
Yes.
So you said you had a market really close to you. Do you get a lot of your things there?
Yeah, actually, this spinach came from the farmer's market that we went to last weekend. Um, and something I feel like I felt really fortunate and able to do here is like kind of source a lot of my produce locally, because I have the access to do that. And like, it's not growing up, this is like unheard of, because I grew up in Las Vegas, and it's like on top of being an actual desert, like it was also a food desert. And so just like I like didn't know what a farmer's market was growing up for most of my life. It was just like, oh, that's some bougie white people shit, but it's not. It's like really fucking cool. And I really appreciate getting to eat like fresh veggies from the farm and knowing where they're coming from. And then also like, I feel like I've also gained a sense of having a taste for when something is good and when something is not good, or like when you feel or like, I don't know, it's I feel really fortunate to be able to have the access to the food that I do right now.
Yeah, I feel that. I think experiencing like locally farm grown, you know, anything is there's such a different flavor, and I think everyone should have access to that at some point.
Yeah. It's also something really cool that I had, that I was like kind of sprung up in the last couple years that I've seen out here, is like farms that are BIPOC led and run become more like mainstream, which I really appreciate because I love to support them. And like the stuff that they grow and produce is like really beautiful and really delicious. And so it's really cool to be able to like see these things come full circle and kind of create create a community in itself, and going and supporting these people, and in turn like getting their delicious produce to push back out into the world when I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Farming is beautiful.
It is. I like, my partner has like, we have a whole little garden. We don't have like a yard. We have like this asphalt slab in the front, but it gets like 24-hour sun almost, or like a lot of sun. And so she's got like this really great little sidewalk garden going on, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, lots of good
Grow
veggies.
out of anything, you know?
All right. She's almost done.
Looking so good.
Yeah, I really wish you could. I feel really good about this. This is just something that I'm like the smell of this in the house makes me feel like I'm 5 again, because this is just like a very familiar smell. And then like, of course, like a fresh pot of rice on the stove is also like a very familiar smell. So like everything is very comforting right now for me. And I look forward to the day when I can share that with you and everyone else. I'm happy I get to share it with my partner, how are you doing over there?
Like, I smell it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's just, I'm very happy with how this turned out.
I'm so happy. Yeah, it looks great. And I know someday we will share, you know, we will break bread and it'll be great. And
Yeah, I'm gonna make bread. It's got like no more store-bought bread. I'm making everybody's bread from now on.
that's such a beautiful thing. I really do want to get into you know, like home baked bread, or like supporting people that make fresh bread. I've read a lot of things and listened to a lot of things about how bread is just, you know, obviously, but like we forget, it's just as important as anything to have fresh. And like, you know, as we eat, or like bread as it comes and, you know, commercially is so processed. And even just like before it's grown, it's so processed. I mean, before it's like made into like processed into like bread, the crop is so processed, like wheat and
Yeah.
and stuff. So I've been really interested in like bread, or not bread, but like the crops, and like having kind of maybe like a mill. That would be so cool to just like process your
Yes.
grains.
That, I feel, as I've been baking at my shop, I've also been called to like look in, like, I don't think I could grow my own grain or anything like that. I just don't have the space or the capacity to do that right now, but I definitely felt interest in just like all of the pre-components that lead up to like my raw ingredients that I have, somewhat raw ingredients that I have to make the bread that I make. But yeah, bread is, I don't know, it's just, now that I've been making like fresh bread, and then having like the processed bread to compare it to is just like a night and day difference. And like, I don't know, like I wish it wasn't so like, it sometimes does feel very labor intensive, but like the love that goes into it and all the time and effort that goes into making fresh bread is such a good, like the payoff is so
Yeah.
satisfying, at least for me. Like, I don't know, I'll be at work sometimes and I'm like rolling up fucking cinnamon rolls, and I have like, to me in my brain, what looks like a perfect spiral. I'm just like, oh, that's gonna turn out so beautiful on the bake off, and it's gonna make someone feel very happy. And I'm like, in turn, it makes me feel really happy to have that product and be like, I fucking made that.
Yeah, this is like such a communication of love, you know.
Yeah, it feels, it's like, it's strange to have that like lens of giving food in that way, because it is like just as much a part of like giving yourself and giving love to somebody like in a dish. Because like I don't know, like there's so many different emotions that come into play with food that I don't really listen to all the time, and when I do, I'm just like, this is really, this is some other shit, or like, man, I want to share this with other people because it feels so good, and like people deserve to have that feeling as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, man, it's like and like COVID has made this really hard, but yeah, like being able to share food is such a like, I don't know. It really, like, I just go back to life force every time because it like really it gives love and energy and nourishment and a spiritual connection. There's and like an ancestral connection, and there's education, and there's so much there.
So much. I wish you could try this. I accidentally broke one of the jalapenos, so it's a little spicy, but
Ooh, did you do it intentionally or did it just happen?
it just happened and when I was mixing it. But like honestly, like eventually it just gets cooked to a point where like even if you just tap it, it's gonna bust open. So
Yeah.
a little extra flavor.
It wants to, it wants to.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's here, I'll do another
Yeah.
one of these.
Wow. Yeah.
There we go.
Yummy.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
much there. All of my greens are cooked down. My potatoes are perfectly mushy.
Chicken is
Yeah,
good.
the chicken is like falling off of the bone right now. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
what you want to look for. Like you could cook this even longer. So like, it's just like completely off of the bone, but this is pretty much like a really good start from a dish like this.
Yeah. That's gonna taste really good over some rice.
Yes, and it just popped, so perfect timing.
Yes.
But yeah, that was it for me. That's my dish. Chicken tinola.
Yummy. Well, I hope you enjoy. I'll probably ask you one or two questions since we have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
While it cools down, and then I'll let you eat. Yeah, I think we touched on most of the things I really wanted to touch on, but tell me about, maybe besides this, a dish that you've prepared that you continue to learn from.
A dish that I've prepared, doesn't matter like what dish, can it be any dish? Or
Yeah, anything.
I guess I can tap into like the baking aspect of my life. Like I bake croissants, and I like am dealing and rolling and just doing croissants every day of my at some point in my like working shifts. Like I'm always doing something with croissants, and that's something I'm learning so much about as far as like baking goes. So like one of the bit like it took me, I would say comfortably like 6 months consistently trying to work on the same recipe to feel comfortable and confident like producing the croissants that I'm able to produce now. And
Yeah.
that's something I've learned. Like again, it just, I'm like not dumbfounded, but just like, man, a lot goes into baking. Like I really went into this job thinking I'm just gonna like have this skill overnight. Hell no. It's not fucking easy, but it's like very self-fulfilling for me personally. And um I'm learning like, I gotta be a little more patient, or like when I fuck up, like you just kind of gotta roll with it and then take a different direction with it. So like something we like to do, if like for instance if the butter is breaking too much in your croissant rollout, like you don't have to do like a standard plain croissant, you can do like a morning bun, because then you don't see like the layers are just going to be different, and it makes more sense to cut something like that versus like roll up a croissant and it's like gonna you just know it's like not going to turn out the way you want it to in the oven. So taking a different direction from that point has been really cool, and like a nice like adaptation to learn as I've like been working with croissants and baking.
Yeah, that's such a metaphor for like flexibility and adaptation,
Yeah.
you know, all these things that, yeah.
Yeah, I love being able to like have a product or like be in the middle of a process, and if it doesn't work out in any way, I can like take it into a different direction, and I know it won't go to waste, or like I know like I can have frustration in it not working out the way I wanted, but I can also do something different and it's going to be just as good
Mm-hmm. Or better, you know, yeah.
or better. Honestly, like sometimes I have to think about it in that way, because like as much as people love plain croissants, they also really love the specialty croissants that we put out, and like it's just, I don't know, I'm just like amazed that people love these things as much as they do, and I feel it feels really good to be able to have the skill and the knowledge to create these things and to share it with people, and to hear, like I love hearing the feedback. Like I bring home pastries every other day, and it's nice to get feedback from my partner and being like, this could be done, or like you guys could add this in here, and it's just, it feels really good to be able to have that.
Yeah, some notes. That's
Yeah, I love feedback, because you know, and I feel like in for like cooking or baking, like you can always make it better. Like I don't know, not everybody's palate is going to be the same, so like just listen to it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, play with it. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot too. All right, I'll hit you with the last question. Tell me about something you're looking forward to in food.
I'm looking forward to sharing food again.
Yeah.
Like I think I recently was thinking about buffets. Like that was a really big part of my childhood, is going into buffets and what that lifestyle was like. And my current self cannot imagine going into a buffet now. Like that
Yeah,
makes
not
my
COVID.
anxiety is just like, no, I don't want to, even if we're all vaccinated, like I don't want anybody's hands touching. I don't want to have any other stranger's hands touching something. But that's just like, you know, COVID anxiety. I'm absolutely looking forward to when that anxiety subsides, and then we can like have a cookout or have a giant food party, or like,
I know, even like a small potluck, you know?
yeah, just like a small potluck, or like also something with like Filipino food, like a big part of it is you eat it with your hands, and like it's
The
just like,
hands, oh my God, the hands are such a like a love language, you know, like the
yeah,
passing, the
yeah.
touching, the making, the feeding, you know?
There's a lot of like, I didn't really think about all of those actions taking place at once growing up, or until very recently, but like for a while I like definitely had shame being away from home and then like eating with my hands outside of that environment, because I didn't feel like it was safe, or like I felt the like shame of like being othered, you know, at the time. Now I don't give a fuck. Like if I like, I want people to see me eating with my hands, because like that's who I am, and like I don't want to be perceived as anything other than who I am now. And so like, so I like am looking forward to being able to express that more, especially going out into the world and like navigating life post pandemic. Um and just like become, because it just that also feels important for me to be like, okay, what other ways can I connect to my culture, that also is incorporating food, is like eating in the ways that like I grew up eating, and also knowing that this isn't like it's a universal, like that's a universal way that people have eaten forever. Like silverware is a brand new tool.
Yeah, like
So
our hand was the first, you know, like it's the first contact with the food and it's the first
exactly.
preparation and like in consumption originally, right? So like it is really beautiful when we get to eat with our hands.
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah. And then knowing that you're like, your hands prepared this meal is like, it just makes it pay off even more. It adds, I feel like for me, it adds more value into like the finished product of like you cooking a meal for somebody, or like being able to have that connection to yourself or to your culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, which, thank you for using your hands to make this beautiful dish to share with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor. I'm really happy to share this dish. It's very dear and close to my heart. I hope everyone gets the gist of it. I'm just like, I'm mostly glad I got to cook this, and I'm happy I get to share it with someone that I love. And I am happy that other people can experience that joy that I'm having for myself. Because that's important. I feel a lot of joy right now. So
That makes me happy. I feel so much joy just, knowing that you have this connection to the dish and you're going to enjoy it with your partner who, also really appreciates, food and what it means to make things with your hands.
yeah.
All right. Thank you. Much love.
Yes, thank
Enjoy.
you
Bon
so much.
appetit. Buen provecho
Thank
is how we
you.
say it in Spanish.
How do you say it in Spanish?
Buen, which is good. Provecho, I guess, is like enjoyment.
Buen provecho.
Yeah, you got it.
I don't know how to say it in Tagalog or Filipino, but yes, it's actually absolutely about to be enjoyed right now. So thank
I'll,
you again for having me.
yeah. I'll send you a recipe, a Colombian recipe in return.
Please, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you have a good rest of your project. I can't wait to see what else is going to come out of this.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Much love
Yes.
to you. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.